Hey guys, it's Ollie. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I am joined with Timon, my stunted corn snake, and we are going to be talking about the pros and cons of having a corn snake and if they are right for you. So corn snakes are one of the easiest and well accessible snakes you can probably find out there. They're almost always recommended for beginners, and there's a great reason for it. They are a fantastic snake. And I'm not gonna lie, I had some problems coming up with cons for this video, but I tried to make it work. So I will say that he is obviously not full grown, he is stunted, he's still growing. So here's a picture of a full grown corn snake. I would just show you Clementine out right now, but she's really deep in blue, so I'm not going to be messing with her because she's really sensitive right now. So we're going to have Timon out instead. So I also want to put this disclaimer out there. I am in no means an expert on these animals. I keep them and I share my opinions and my experiences on the internet. Does not mean I am 100% correct ever. I am a human. I make mistakes. My word is not fact. And always, always, always make sure you go to more than one source when dealing with animal care or decisions about animals, because again, I'm just saying what works for me and what I experience, but that does not mean that it is correct. Alright, so my first pro, and I'll be going like back and forth on pros and then cons, just so, I don't know, it's more balanced, I guess. These guys are super easy to care for. They don't have a lot of like heating requirements and a lot of humidity requirements. And they're really, really good for beginners, and it's really easy to find good information on them. Alright, so for my first con, has to be the one that I hear about the most and that a lot of people talk about the most, is that these guys are escape artists. So whatever enclosure you have them in, you're gonna need to check it and make sure there is no way for your snake to get out, because if there's a way, they're going to find it. This one actually did get out very recently before he got his upgrade, and he was out for 5 days, and we found him on my dubia bin. So, okay, so my second pro is that they are extremely, like, hardy snakes. So even if you do mess up the temperature, like this is your first snake, it's a little intimidating, you mess up their temperature, or you do mess up their humidity or something, as long as it's not, like, really, really hot in their enclosure or like really, really cold in their enclosure, they're probably going to bounce back. They're very forgiving snakes. As long as you fix that mistake, they're willing to forgive you for it and not really have any like major repercussions. So that is a pro for the corn snake. Alright, so this might be a little bit awkward, but I really don't have another con for that point, so we're just gonna move on, pretend that I had one. Okay, so one pro for the corn snake is that they are pretty docile. They're pretty easy to handle. They don't really bite too often. They'll give you a lot of warning signs before they go to biting. They're very easy to tame down, and they're pretty much cool with being around you. So again, that's good for a first snake. They're not very intimidating. I know I just said they're docile, but the con to that is that the babies especially can be very flighty, and they're very, very fast. So maybe if you're like a kid that wants one, or you have a kid that wants one or whatever, they can be very quick when they're babies. Even as adults, they're pretty quick, but they do tame down as adults quite a bit. But yeah, babies are very quick, very flighty, and that just might freak some people out. So, you know, if you don't really want a fast-moving snake, maybe look at some other snakes, because corn snakes can be very quick. Again, once they're toned down, he doesn't really do anything. Alright, so a pro is that they are very active snakes. So most snakes that you're going to get, especially commonly in the pet trade, they're pretty, like, most of them are nocturnal, and they're pretty boring for the most part. They don't really do much. Like, my ball python just kind of sits in his cave all day, and, you know, we'll see him out sometimes, but mostly you don't really see him doing too much. Corn snakes, on the other hand, they are very curious, they like to explore, And I mean, they just move. Which could be a con to some people, I guess, but I personally think it's a pro. That also means, like, when you're handling them, as you can see, he doesn't really sit still. He's all over the place. Alright, so since they are so active and they really explore their enclosure a lot, I think that they need much more of enclosure than some other snakes might. So for example, I mean, they're pretty skinny, so like you wouldn't expect them to need much of an enclosure. Of course, this is not full size. Once again, he is not a full-grown corn snake. So, personally, I think that the minimum size for an adult corn snake is a 40-gallon breeder. That is what I currently have mine is. I believe that is a minimum requirement, and my corn snake is going to be moved up. Right now, he's in a 25-gallon, which is pretty big for him, so he's fine until he does grow and get bigger. You're going to want a bigger space. I think, personally, 60s are a lot better for them, or bigger. As much space as you can give them, as long as you can fill it up with stuff to do, bigger is better, especially for a corn snake, because they are so curious and they'll explore any space that you give them. Alright, a big pro is that corn snakes are great eaters. They are really, really, really good at like never missing a meal. I think when your corn snake does miss a meal, that can be kind of concerning. Of course, if like they're in shed, that's a little more understandable. And the only time I've ever had a corn snake not eat for me was Clementine, like last week. And that's just because she's so deep in shed right now that she wasn't even interested. So sometimes, you know, it can be a little understandable, but I mean, other than that, I've never had a corn snake not eat for me, even in sheds. Usually they eat even if they're in shed, but yeah, so you really don't have to worry about them not eating. And for new keepers, that can be really, really important, because you don't want your first snake to just not eat, because that can really scare a lot of people. Like, ball pythons are really known for going on hunger strikes. But, I mean, corn snakes, you don't really have that problem. Now, the con to this is that they do eat rodents. You can't, you know, substitute their diet for, like, meats at the grocery store or anything else. They can't be vegan. They don't eat vegetables. They are carnivorous and they eat rodents. So odds are you will be feeding your corn snake a frozen thawed rodent from the pet store, and that's okay. Like, if that's not something you're into, the snake is just not for you. If you don't like that, then a snake is probably not for you. And you know, that's fine. That's okay. This is why we're here. We learn things. Next couple can be pros and cons. I think a lot of these are pros. Some people think they're cons. They can be iffy. So one of the controversial pro-con things is their size. Once again, he's not full-grown at all. He is a stunted snake, so he's not a good example of their sizing. But they can get around 4 to 5 feet, depending on the individual. And I mean, some of them have been reported to be 6 feet, but that's pretty rare. So they are a smaller snake just because they are so skinny. But some people would see that as a con because they really want like the big snakes. Some people see it as a con because they want like a little snake. And these guys are pretty, I mean, they're small, but they're not like hawk noses. So you just have to kind of feel that out for yourself and what you want in a snake. Because if you want one that's about, 4 to 5 feet and relatively skinny, not too muscular, then a corn snake's probably perfect. That's all preference and whatever you decide you want. Alright, so another of the controversial pro-con is lifespan. So these guys live like 15 to 20 years in captivity. Of course, it depends on the individual and their history and all of that, their breeding history, whatever. All dependent on that sort of stuff. But if they are from a good place and you take care of them really well their whole life and stuff, you could easily have a snake for like 20 years. So, I think that would be a pro, but some people see it as a con. Personally, I love this. I like I like animals that live for a very long time because I get very, very attached to them, and when they do pass away, it really hurts me. That is a very big commitment though. So if you maybe aren't ready for that kind of commitment, or you don't want an animal that's going to live that long, maybe corn snakes aren't for you. Alright guys, well that's pretty much it for today's video, but they're a beautiful snake. They're great to look at, they're pretty fun, and they're very easy and tolerant. And I think they make a fantastic first snake for most ages. Yeah. Don't forget to follow me over on Instagram to see pictures of my animals every single day. And if you like this kind of stuff, don't forget to subscribe. I upload every single Friday. Also, don't forget to like this video if you enjoyed it or it helped you. And let me know in the comments on if you're planning on getting a corn snake, or if maybe you already have a corn snake. I don't know. Just let me know. Let me know what you got. And as always, I will see you next time. Bye.